Thank you for watching the WJTS News for Friday, April 7th. I'm Kaleb Knepp reporting. Around 5:45 Thursday morning, the Jasper Police Department responded to a call from a person who reported that their ex-spouse was in violation of a no-contact order by sending them text messages. An investigation found 55-year-old Perry Berger of Jasper to be the female subject, and she was transported to the Jasper Police Department for an interview. Perry Berger was then arrested and transported to the DuBois County Security Center for a Class A misdemeanor charge of invasion of privacy. Mary Posner, then Mary Munchell, wasn't considered your average radical in the 1960s. As a quiet Catholic Ball State University sorority girl, her fellow students described her as more of a Girl Scout.
The Vietnam War was raging, and Mary began feeling that her small office should be filled with more important conversations. When the bombing of Napalm happened, a spark was lit in the young woman's heart that influenced her activism against the war and continues to nationally inspire Americans of all ages. Mary Posner's opposition to the Vietnam War began with a photo of the Napalm bombing victims posted in her company's break room. It didn't take long for the powers that will to quickly scold her with accusations of communism and to remind Mary that she was powerless against the war. Posner took heed, but later that summer, when she was denied time off to attend the National Student Congress in Texas as a member of the Ball State University Student Senate, she quit her job.
I wasn't really aware at the time how significant it was. I just knew it was the right thing.
Mary attended the National Student Congress, where she learned about the Vietnam Moratorium Committee and national anti-Vietnam efforts that would eventually inspire more than 2 million Americans to take off work in protest of the war. Posner returned to BSU for her junior year in search of someone to organize local efforts to no avail. So she did it. A meeting with roughly 25 people was held despite considerable opposition from everyone except the Catholic Church, and by October 15th, the group was ready. Monthly demonstrations were held from October through April. Fast forward 50 years to the year 2019, where Mary Posner, now married to Vietnam veteran Bob Posner, was searching for celebrations to commemorate the anti-Vietnam War efforts. Once again, Mary realized no one else was planning to act, so she did. With the help of history professor Michael Doyle and other committee members, Posner organized a day-long celebration and reunion that was held at Ball State University. A member of the Vietnam Peace Commemoration Committee out of New York attended the BSU event and invited Dr. Posner to speak to a panel at George Washington University about the mobilization and demonstrations against the Vietnam War. During her presentation in front of the White House, a production member from PBS approached Mary about appearing on a documentary. Dr. Posner appeared on a special episode of The American Experience that is now available for online viewing. Since receiving national accolades for her decades-long activism, Mary has come to realize just how much her one decision all those years ago would mean in today's world. She's been thanked by college students, immigrants, and others nationwide. I asked Mary if there was anything she would like our listeners to know, and she had this to leave us with.
I would like to end with one of my favorite quotes from John Lennon. Imagine all the people living life in peace.
Thank you, Joyce and Dr. Mary Posner. While over 55,000 Americans lost their lives during the Vietnam War and are remembered on its 482-foot-long memorial wall, that monument would stretch longer than 8 miles if the Vietnamese were included in the list of those who perished. Community grapevines have been so overtaken with mumbles of concern about poison hemlock in recent years that the DuBois County Soil and Water Conservation District partnered with the DuBois County Weed Board in 2022 for an outreach campaign about the invasive noxious weed. The organizations plan to continue distributing educational videos, ads, public service announcements, and mailings to the DuBois County landowners to encourage continued efforts in getting poison hemlock under control. The plant is common on the side of roads, fields, and creeks, and is classified as an invasive plant and noxious weed, partially because of its highly toxic effects on humans and livestock if it is ingested. Rapid spread of poison hemlock has shown that a reminder of the threat posed by the plant and a reminder of the correct way to get rid of it are needed. An understanding of the flower is needed to effectively combat its spread. DuBois County SWCD invasive species specialist Emily Finch explained that some efforts to control poison hemlock are ineffective because it needs to be controlled early in the year before the plants flower. Because the weed is biennial, meaning it only lives for 2 years before producing seed and dying, the only way to eradicate infestations is to prevent seed production. Poison hemlock can be controlled with multiple methods as long as the plants aren't allowed to flower and produce seeds. Because the seeds have a very short duration in the soil, many populations can be eradicated with a few years of effective treatments. Small populations can be removed by hand if an individual wears gloves or dug up with a sharp shovel to sever the root. Summer plants resprout regularly, making cutting or mowing ineffective unless repeated regularly. In fact, poison hemlock seeds can be spread by mowing and cause further infestations. Large populations of the plant are best controlled with herbicides and chemicals that have the benefit of not harming grass or freshwater supplies. Residents are encouraged to read the warning labels and instructions for whatever product they choose. SWCD's Emily Finch says the earlier you can take action against the spread of poison hemlock, the better. For the best results, she suggests only spraying on days over 50 degrees. More info and options to eradicate poison hemlock from Purdue Extension and SICWMA's presentation about the invasive plant are available at www.duboisswcd.org. Landowners in Dubois County may qualify for funding to control poison hemlock and other noxious weeds. More details about the program are available by calling 812-482-1171 extension 3 or by email to duboisswcd@gmail.com. Senator Mike Braun, Senator Joni Ernst, and Senator Chuck Grassley have introduced the Define WOTUS Act, which will codify a congressionally mandated definition of what constitutes WOTUS, or Waters of the United States. If passed, the bill would reassert congressional responsibility to define this important term for farmers. The definition in the Define WOTUS Act also makes substantial improvements over various administrative attempts to define the term by clearly outlining what is and is not a federally regulated waterway. The bill differs from EPA's regulations under the Biden, Trump, and Obama administrations in several important ways. For wetlands, unlike previous definitions, the bill restricts federal authority to wetlands that abut. In ephemeral waters, the bill restricts WOTUS to streams that flow at least 185 days a year, common recommendation from agricultural stakeholders. Exclusions. The bill includes more exclusions than previous rule, including an exclusion for snowpack melt requested by agricultural stakeholders, as well as a new exclusion for drain tiling as a subsurface drainage system. Beyond visual inspection, the bill also restricts waters that require more than a visual inspection to determine their federal status as not WOTUS. This is an important mechanism requested by many stakeholders to ensure that the definition is as predictable and uniformly implemented as possible. That's been a look at the news here on WJTS. We'll be right back with weather, and Kurt Guxel has sports.